Welcome to Your Impact Story. Our goal is to inspire you to have a positive impact on the world around you. And now, here is author, speaker, coach, and our host, Dustin Rogers.
Hey, friends, welcome back to another episode of Your Impact Story podcast. I'm your host, Dustin Rogers, and I'm excited about today's episode. I have peak performance leadership expert and founder of the Mindset-Conquest, Chris Atwell. Chris, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Dustin, thanks for having me. Super pumped to have a good chat with you today.
Absolutely. So Chris and I are part of a mentorship program together, learning to just be better leaders and more effective in lots of things. But we met through there. We've connected a few times. I'm excited. And instead of just reading out your bio, Chris, I want you to introduce yourself to our audience today.
Yeah, so I'm Chris Atwell. I'm a peak performance leadership and mindset coach. I am the founder of Mindset-Conquest, which is an organization that really focuses on helping owners of manufacturers' rep agencies. And many of you may not know what that means, but it's an industry. It's a really niche industry of entrepreneurs who partner with manufacturers across the world to sell their product, market their product. And I help them overcome overwhelm. I help them build strategies on how they can get really clear on their mission, their vision, and carry that out in a way that's going to allow them to create more free time for themselves while developing high-performing teams. And I'm on my way to become the premier partner in this industry, and I'm really excited about it. I love doing it. It's fantastic.
That's outstanding, man. Well, I look forward to unpacking that more today. And I think one thing, it's hard. I mean, I could say this in my own business, but to be able to craft and find that sweet spot, right? To dig in and say, this is who I coach and this is who I support and this is who I can help develop is a really great place to be for you and your business, but even more so for your clients, right? They know that they're getting value because you're the guy. If they need this, you're the guy. But let's rewind and let's go back a little ways first before we unpack that. Let's talk about early life. Tell me who impacted you early on in your life.
Yeah. So I grew up in a military family and moved around a lot. And many of you may have experienced this. You know, you're getting bounced around from base to base. Your father's in the military. And early on in my life, some of the key influences from a business standpoint were the people that I worked for. So in my teenage years, living on military bases, there were a few entrepreneurs that ran different businesses. One of them was a Dickie D ice cream service, right? Bicycles with freezers on the front and the bells. And that was one of my first gigs as a teenager. Was I went around and sold ice cream. So that was the gentleman who ran that business really instilled early on, and I didn't, I look back and how powerful that was, the entrepreneurial spirit that I have today, right? I learned what it took to plan, strategize, carry stock, sell, make a profit, all those things, and put in the hours to make that work. There was another gentleman as well who ran a chip shack, like a chip truck, fry truck, and I worked
Sure.
on the in that truck. I would sell ice cream during the day, and then in the evenings, I would sell fries in the chip truck. Cut the potatoes, fry them up, sell them to all the cadets on the military base because there was a cadet camp. If you made your way inland into the base, there was always summers. That's where the cadets would go and spend their summers. And as a civilian member, we were able to have some businesses there. So that gentleman inspired me too. I saw the amount of cash trading hands and how easy it was to make money selling something that was so valuable to them at that time. I mean, imagine you're in the cadets, you're out all day in the sun, you're eating the same food every single day, but then in the evening in your free time, oh, look at that. I can go get some French fries and gravy, right? That was like gold to them. And the ice cream, right? So
Sure.
real early on influences there. And then as my life progressed, I really started to appreciate my grandfather even
Okay.
more. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. He had a grocery store, a very successful grocery store, and became a millionaire after he exited that. And the life that he lived, golfing every day, reinvesting his money in ways that allowed him to continue to grow his wealth after he exited that business in his 50s, really inspired me big time. So,
Absolutely. That's awesome. And I think one of the things that we don't, I mean, you and I have unpacked that in our own personal journeys, but a lot of times we take for granted those early things, those early influences, parents, grandparents, people, our first jobs, right? My first job was working in my family business, and it was an unofficial job, right? It wasn't really a job. And then my first real job was working at a feed mill. But the
yeah,
things that you take away from those, whether it's network or whether it's just work ethic, but if the entrepreneurial spirit bites you, right? If you get that bug, if you get that in your soul, it's there, and it doesn't may not play out till you're many years later, or maybe you're not in a position to really live that out until many years later. But that's awesome. That's a great story, and I appreciate you sharing that. How early on selling ice cream and French fries, and now I want ice cream. But uh,
yeah,
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 that's good stuff. So,
yeah.
all right, so early we've kind of gone through that early on. Now tell me about next phase in your life, in your career. What was next after school, after selling ice cream and chips?
Yeah, well, after high school, my dad uh, sent me to business school. All right. My father was a military man, and believe it or not, I wanted to be a DJ. Like I'm 17, 18 years old. Dad says, "What do you want to be?" And I said, "I want to be a DJ." He says, "No way. Like you need a real job, a real career here. I'm gonna send you to business school." And at the time, I was frustrated because I was like, you don't hear me. Like I want to be a DJ. I see these people on TV and at the festivals making big bucks, right? And they can make a
Right.
career out of it. And I look back and my dad had such great intentions. He wanted me to go to business school so I could learn how to run my business as a DJ, right? Whereas I looked at it
Sure.
as, why can't I just become a DJ now, right? Young and immature. So
Right.
I went to business school, and from there, I flunked. I flunked my first year of college. I just wasn't engaged. I wasn't ready for it.
I've been there. I've lived it.
Yeah, and my grandfather, the other grandfather on my mom's side, he he was struggling with some mobility issues. He had rheumatoid arthritis, was in a wheelchair, and needed home care. And he called me. He said, "Chris, why don't you come live with me for a while? You can help me with my needs, and I'll pay you." My grandfather lived in the country, away from the city, and I could use it, right? I
Sure.
had a lot of distractions and bad habits, so I did. I went and lived with him, and we had I spent almost a year there and built a really solid routine around helping him with his health and needs, and for myself as well. And then I joined the reserves. I joined the military.
Okay.
Um, did part-time reserve, but in a full-time capacity for an entire summer on Parliament Hill here in Canada as a ceremonial guard, as a Governor General's foot guard, which is pretty amazing. Did infantry training, uh, and that part-time reservist, it lasted about 4 years. I was in the reserves for 4 years when I went back to college, and instead of studying business this time, I studied culinary because I realized I had
Okay.
a love for cooking, for being a chef. Before you know it, crush that, and I'm working full time in the restaurant industry. I'm managing restaurants. I'm managing kitchens. I'm doing very well, and end up downtown Toronto, working in the heart of the city. Um, then I went back to business school. After a couple of years of that, I said, you know what? I see what my dad was up to. I need to go get my business skills skilled up. Went to business school this time, made Dean's List, I was ready. I was engaged. And I started a music production business and a promotion business while I was in college again, and
Okay.
um, ran an independent hip hop record label. I promoted all the local clubs and bars in the area. I brought artists in from all around the world to perform, and then I would be the opener, and really started building like um, a really exciting entertainment career, being
Sure.
that DJ that I was talking about, except now it moved into um, performing in a different way, rapping and singing and bringing people together and DJing. It was a lot of fun. So that's where I was at after school. I ended up working as a flight attendant, Air Canada. I was saying, okay, where am I going from here? I finished business school. I've got my music career going. And I'm bilingual. I speak English and French.
Okay.
And I look in the newspaper. Yeah, there were still newspapers back then, and there's a job posting for flight attendant, travel the world part time. And I said, "Holy smokes, that'd be amazing!" So applied, and for 2 years I traveled the skies. I went everywhere from Delhi, India, to Beijing, China, all over the U.S., Canada, Europe. Really got to see and experience all these different cultures
Sure.
while building a music career on the side. And when I decided to leave Air Canada, that's when I started my sales career. And I had got an opportunity to work for a large corporation, company called Purelator. It's the UPS of Canada.
Okay.
And I jumped on it. I was like, oh, that sounds great. And started in inside sales. 18 years later, 20 years later, here I am. So
Okay.
built my built my sales and leadership career from the ground all the way up through these corporations, and ran my music business on the side. And now I have a full-time coaching business of my own. So,
Absolutely. So let's stop there for just a second and kind of unpack some of that because one,
mhm.
I think we could have a whole podcast just dedicated to the music side, right? Just dedicated to the
Absolutely.
music side of your career,
Yeah.
and that would be awesome to unpack. But we may have to do that sometime. The one thing that we're talking about today that we're going to talk through high performance teams. You've lived it, you understand it. But let's talk about CRM management for a minute.
Okay.
So you work with teams today. You have a very specialized niche working with manufacturer rep agency owners. But as a sales manager, somebody that has been in sales, myself has been in sales management. I actually had a phone call this morning talking about CRM engagement, and so perfect timing. But let's talk through that. Let's talk about failing at CRM. Let's talk about
Mm,
what success looks like with CRM, and let's talk about failing with CRM.
yeah. I think most organizations bring CRM systems on with the hope that it's going to start on its own, that it's going to, as soon as you implement it, everything's going to be beautiful and you're going to be able to extract so much valuable information from it that it's going to make the business better
Right.
in whatever way, shape, or form. And the truth is that success with the CRM starts with helping everybody in the organization understand why is it so important.
So true.
A lot of CEOs may see it. An owner of a company or a sales manager may see it, but at the individual contributor level, the salesperson level, they don't see it. That's where a lot of the failure happens, right? They see it, there's a perception. Why do I need to do this is the question that they ask. I'm doing my job just fine. Why do I need to have this middle middle piece that's going to act like Big Brother, that's going to track
Right.
my every move, that's going to be watching everything that I'm doing, right? And
Right.
the challenge with CRMs is that if you don't communicate the why in a way that relates to the person who's
Mm.
going to be doing the inputs, you're setting yourself up for failure. So, best way to do that, best way to communicate the why is to help your team members understand how it helps them. How's this going to assist you in your day to day? How's it going to make your life easier? How's it going to allow you to hit your revenue targets faster, more efficiently? How's it going to save you time?
Right.
And that's not an easy thing to do unless you've clearly laid it out, right? You need to understand
Sure.
a lot of different things. So without having that strategic understanding of why and how it's going to help your salespeople and communicating it clearly, you're setting yourself up for failure.
I told I told my dad once. It seemed like in a family business, it seems like a lot. You get hit with a lot of vendors in any business, right?
Oh, for sure.
But I remember once telling my dad he was sold on a product, and I was like, "Hey, you know what we need to do here? We need to go hire the sales rep that's trying to sell you this platform because that's really what we need right now in our business is that sales rep that sold you that we need this, but." From a CEO, from an owner standpoint, right? CRM, they see the visibility that they gain into their business, right? They see the access to dashboards and the way to see, track pipelines, track customers, all kinds of things. But you said, I mean, you nailed it. Like that ability, if we don't translate that to everybody on the team and unpack the why, that's the key to success in CRM 100%. But as a sales manager, I used to joke and say I had a very high performer who I had to coach weekly on please just log this activity, right? Please just put this in the system. And the why for him was, hey, look, if you'll get this in the system, everybody that's here to support you can do their job quicker and easier. And there won't be so many calls to you to, hey, I need this, I need that. It'll allow the whole sales process to flow smoother. And then I had some guys that were experts, right? They were in it every day. They understood it. They just flowed. And so the management oversight was completely different, right, between those two. But, I needed to sell the why a little bit different, a little bit better to get that top performer to not just think that we were watching over his shoulder. Big brother, as you said, perfect wording there for sure.
One of the questions I often ask top performers in particular is how many opportunities do you need to chase this year in order to hit and exceed your revenue target for the year? And when they start thinking about that, usually the answer is, I don't know.
Right,
Right. So how can you guarantee that you're going to hit or exceed your revenue targets? I can't.
right,
And a CRM system can allow you to demonstrate that. You can. And there's this sales velocity concept. I call it precision pipeline index. All right.
okay,
If you take your revenue target, all right, say your revenue target's $1 million,
hmm
right? And your close ratio, your success rate at actually winning business every time that you propose or make a proposal to somebody is 30%. All right. You can demonstrate what your close rate is when you have a CRM because you're tracking all your opportunities and you mark them as win or lost, right?
sure,
So say it's $1 million target, 30% close rate, and your average opportunity size is 100,000 because you're tracking them and you can know the average now, right? You're like, yeah, I got all these opportunities in here. They all average about 100,000 each. Well, you know suddenly that you need to track 30 opportunities with a high likelihood of success in order for you to achieve that $1 million. So for a high performer, that becomes very valuable because he may have 100 opportunities. But if you've got them in a CRM and you've tracked them by level of confidence and you know that there's a potential of actually securing this business, you can distill that 100 down to 30. And then those 30, you know that if you chase those 30, you're using the precision pipeline index and sales velocity, you're going to hit your goal
Right.
and you're going to spend your time in the right places and you can treat all those other opportunities differently or all the noise differently because all you got to do is focus on these ones and these ones are going to get you there faster. So that's the
Absolutely.
way I look at it.
That's awesome. And so that component I'm gonna transition for a minute now
Okay.
uh from that because as a sales rep, right? Let's say that you're a sales rep and you've got 250 accounts, right? But that sweet spot, that there's that space in your book of business where this is where my opportunity comes consistent. And so for that success in the CRM helps you with time management, right? We've got more metrics than ever before. We've got more demand than ever before for everybody in an organization. And so it's easy to hit a priority overload. And you and we've talked about that some together in the past, me personally, right? Like it's easy just to family and business and all these different things coming at you all the time. And I think that's a place that you specialize in. That's a sweet spot for you. So let's talk through priority overload a little bit.
Yeah. So we all have a lot of things on our to-do list every single day, right? I look at my to-do list some days and I got 3 pages. I'm like, okay, that's a to-do list.
Right.
But which ones are the priorities? How do I make sure that I'm doing the right activities at the right time to get the most bang for my buck so I don't burn out and I'm getting the most done, right? That's going to impact
Absolutely.
my business. So priority overload happens to all of us, especially as entrepreneurs and business owners and sales leaders. Even as salespeople, priority overload happens all the time. So the best way to approach this is to think about all the things on that you do on a day to day. If you were to list every activity down and sort them in 3 categories. First one is your big rocks. Okay, which ones are the big rocks? And big rocks are the activities that are absolutely critical. They're going to have the biggest impact on your business. They're going to generate the most ROI, and they most of the time require your specific skill set. Okay. And depending on your role, your big rocks are going to vary. As an owner of a business, a lot of the big rocks are going to be things that are very strategic, working on the business, right?
Sure.
Whereas if you're a salesperson, it's going to be very tactical, closing business, right? So, but identify all the big rocks on that list. And then second, identify what are the pebbles, big rocks, and pebbles. Pebbles are the secondary priorities. They're important, but maybe they're not as critical. They don't turn over a lot of ROI. They're nice to haves, right? Nice to do's, um, side projects, secondary priorities, all right? So you can
Sure.
separate big rocks from pebbles. And then third, you identify the sand. The sand are the
Mm.
time wasters. Those things that are getting in the way, the things you do when you procrastinate, those quick hits that you do all the time because they make you feel good, the scrolling on social media, the watching the two
Absolutely.
YouTube channels, all of those things. Okay. And then you can take your rocks, pebbles, and sand list, and you can even go a level deeper and say which ones are essential. Which ones absolutely 100% require my skill set, my
Right.
specific skill set,
Right.
and highlight those. And then which ones are non-essential, which meaning which ones can I delegate? Which ones can
Sure.
I do later? Which ones are do not require my specific skill set?
Right.
And what you'll notice all of a sudden is that your list gets a lot smaller. If you've done a big rocks, pebbles, and sand exercise, and essential versus non-essential, you're going to realize that those 25 things that you had there, really there's only 5 or 6
Right.
that you should be focused on. So this is a mindset thing, right? It's really getting clarity on what should I actually be doing. And how can I treat the things that I'm doing, but know now that I shouldn't be doing differently?
Right.
How can I replace those things? How can I get somebody else to do them? How can I eliminate them? How can I systemize them so that I'm spending no time or a lot less time on those activities at all? All right.
Absolutely.
And and then there's even a deeper level to this where one of our mentors shares doing an energy audit on these
Hmm.
things, right? Where you take a look, okay, now that I've got these essential and non-essential things, let's go a level deeper and highlight the ones that actually light me up, the things that give me energy, the things that I
Right.
want to do because they, you know what, I love doing them.
Right.
And then which ones are energy draining? They actually suck the life out of me. They drag me down. And you can separate those things at a level deeper and say, okay, the energy generating ones, I'm going to keep those because they feel good and the team feels
That's
it and
right.
it lights me up and I get them done really well as long as they're big rocks and they're essential. Okay.
Hmm.
But the energy generating ones, okay, let's find somebody, or sorry, energy draining ones. Let's find somebody on the team who that's energy generating to and delegate it to them because it's going to light them up. And then you're going to see this momentum wheel start to create itself in your business. So there's different ways to prioritize your time, but know that it's not about managing time. It's not about managing time. Time is linear. You can't change
Right.
time, but it's managing the priorities and fitting them within the time that you can. And by doing some of these exercises, you can get to the nitty gritty and manage your priorities more effectively, which will get rid of that overwhelm. That'll allow you to get rid of that priority overload.
100%. And from a business, I mean, this applies to personal life too, right? This is not just business. This is business and personal. But when a company, when a leader does this in their business, right? They do that themselves. The ripple effect that that has in their business. And one thing that's amazed me in times of supporting others in an organization, in part of my consulting business, I've asked people, "Hey, what do you hate about your job?" Right? Just in those one-on-ones and unpacking and understanding the business. And as a third party, you get like the full unload, right?
Oh yeah.
That they're
Oh yeah.
never going to share with the owner. They're never going to share with their supervisor. But when they unpack that, and then you realize, well, the person that sits right across from them actually doesn't have that as part of their job, and they love it.
Hmm.
And so just these simple realignments in an organization can make the ship sail so smooth, right? And you can eliminate that burnout, and that priority overload becomes burnout, right? If we're not careful, it's
Hmm.
completely draining. I've fully lived it. I've fully lived complete total burnout in my life. And so let's talk about burnout. Let's just we're just going to keep this train rolling here. Time management is something that I have. Uh, I'm a constant student of time management because I've found every way to try to cram too many things into every day and shuffled meetings. I've done that to you, and I'm sorry for that. But I'm a student today, right? I'm interviewing you, but I'm learning. I'm taking notes as we're talking. But let's talk about burnout. You've lived it in your life. I've lived it in mine. Share some of that with me.
Yeah, I've hit burnout a few times in my life. But the one that was the real wake-up call was in 2021 when I ended up in the hospital with near kidney failure. Was stretching myself way too far, working full time in the corporate sales leadership role, managing a team, and also running my music business on the side. Had the family at home, and I was overtraining in the gym, thinking that, hey, you know what? Yes, I'm tired, but if I do a lot of exercise,
Right.
it's going to make me feel better. And quite frankly, I wasn't treating myself with respect because I was binge drinking on a regular basis as well. And that binge drinking as I got older, on the weekends, even though it was saved for the weekends, it catches up to you. right?
Sure.
And it contributes to the acceleration of the burnout. So I end up in the hospital. I've got rhabdomyolysis. I'm connected to IVs, and I'm burnt out. I'm done. I'm toast. And 5 days later, they finally released me. We managed to escape the threat of a kidney dialysis, which
Mm.
was what I was worried about, a near-death experience. Okay.
Sure.
And when I got back from that experience, when I got home, I just realized, how many times had I faced burnout in a 20-year period? Maybe two or three. And I just kind of pushed through it and never really changed. It would like
Mm.
pass, right? I'd overcome it to a certain degree and then it would repeat itself. The pattern was still there. So for me, it really required a reset, a mindset shift, a change in the way that I was approaching my life because what I was doing wasn't working. And I had to change, or else, what would the next one look like? Or that
Right.
next bout of burnout look like? And I've seen a lot of people in my experience working for corporate, and as an entrepreneur, I've seen a lot of people hit burnout in different ways, shapes, or form, right? Some
Sure.
people it's a mental breakdown. Some people it's a real physical breakdown. Some people it's full on. Some people die,
Right.
right? One of my there's this gentleman that I knew. He was in the music business, was the top music supervisor in the country, had all the major connections. Mid 40s, dies of a heart attack.
Mm.
Leaves his family behind. It was heartbreaking. But
Sure.
he pushed himself too hard and didn't just like me, wasn't paying attention to the signs.
Right.
Right. So burnout is real, and we can prevent it. We can. But it takes awareness, it takes guidance.
Mm.
But we start with our health and well-being. That's where it all starts, right? Every business needs you to take the lead. And for you to take the lead, you have to take care of yourself first. And that's where your health and
100%.
well-being comes into play. And there's different ways to approach that, but essentially it's exercise, hydration, nutrition, rest and recovery, and prayer and meditation, and all these mindfulness things, right? Once you've got a good understanding of what your health and well-being looks like for you, you also want to take a look at your business health, and that's why you got to know your numbers. The more you know your numbers and you understand the goals, the objectives, and the gaps and the bottlenecks that are getting you that are holding you back from achieving those goals, then you can build systems in place to rectify those, which are going to help you because you're going to spend less time on them if the system is implemented, right?
Absolutely.
And then you build the habits, the routines, the systems to really support that trifecta: your health and well-being, knowing your numbers and your business health, and rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And you get this flywheel of momentum that allows you to feel good, allows you to show up for everyone, and it allows your business to operate at a level that's going to continue to grow as well without hitting that burnout.
Absolutely. So that when you hit those breakthroughs, right, it's hard to describe, right? I mean, if you've lived it, if you've lived complete burnout, and I think going back, I have also, if I'm being honest with myself, I've had those moments of burnout before my full burnout, I'll call it, of saying, hey, I have to change something in my life or I'm in serious trouble, right? It's affecting my marriage, it's affecting my family, it's affecting my work life, all the above. And that self-awareness is a great place to be because it's a starting place. But I think sometimes I classify it as, well, I'm a man and this is what I need to do, right? I just internalize it and I pretend like I'm compartmentalizing it and putting it in a place where I can handle it. But sometimes we numb it, right? We grow numb to it and we just keep powering on that this is the new normal. But it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be that way. And
Yeah.
so in from the inside out, right? I had to do that myself, right? Okay. I have to change as a internally from the inside out. Now where do we go from here? And it's the breakthrough, the flywheel effect, as you called it. That's perfect because I'm a tractor guy, so I collect tractors and we have a tractor business, and I thought about a flywheel on an antique tractor as soon as you said that, right? But you can see it actually spin when you crank it, and then it just starts spinning wide open.
Yeah.
And but that flywheel effect is real. And when as a leader, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, when you get that turn, right? When you get it, and then the systems and everything is running in motion, everybody has a positive effect because of it, right? Everybody around you, and your ability to create an impact goes to a whole new level that you've never had before.
And there's something you mentioned there that's really interesting. It's the numbing out. We pretend that it's normal, right? And that's
Absolutely.
part of our society too, our culture. And there's many different ways to numb out, right? It could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be overworking because that's what you do. You're just like, I'm just
That's
gonna
right.
bury my head into the work, and that's the only way I'm gonna get through this. Or for some people it's even worse things. But being aware of what you're doing in terms of numbing out is we ignore it
That's
for the
right.
most part. Most of us ignore it for too long, right?
That's right.
And if I spotted it on certain people and I brought it to their attention, a lot of time, ego might show up too. Be like,
You
hey,
bet.
whoa, whoa, no, that's not me, right? So
That's right.
there's a lot of protective stuff happening internally, and that's where you're talking about that starts from the inside.
Hmm.
We need to go deep. We have to listen to ourselves, and we need to reconnect with our spiritual selves as well. I think that's another thing in this world that we live in when it comes to capitalism and working hard. Trust me, I love making money. I love
Sure.
business, but we lose touch sometimes with our spirituality,
That's right.
which which is that's something really important too. And that goes back to the health and well-being thing is, are you connected with your spirituality? That's certainly something that I encourage everyone to explore.
100%. Same here. I agree. So, one of the things that we haven't talked about is how you transition to you're full time now, right?
Hmm.
You're the owner and of Mindset Conquest. And
Hmm.
so let's talk about that leadership journey of being a coach, and then share with us your business today. You shared a little bit in your intro, but tell us a little bit about how you go from the burnout, right? They've got all this stuff going. I'm in the corporate world, and to being a coach and owner of Mindset Conquest.
Yeah. So after the health scare, I started to make significant changes to the way that I was approaching my days. I started with implementing morning routine that was really solid. I figured, hey, if I get up at the same time every single day and do exercise. Actually, I read a book called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Okay.
Okay,
Highly recommend it. Great book. And he talks about the savers, the five things that you should implement in your morning routine that's going to save you. And the first one is silence. So spend some time meditating in silence. Second one's affirmations. Give yourself some affirmations, speak
right,
positively to yourself. Visualize where you want to go in life. Where are you heading? Exercise. Okay. So get that exercise in the morning, get the blood flowing, get the bioenergetics going. Reading. Read something in the morning, get your brain working, something powerful that you're going to be able to utilize in your day to day. And then scribing, journal, write things down. You collect. So I started following that morning routine, and as I was meditating and visualizing, I started having this calling to coaching. I was like, holy smokes. I began documenting my journey and sharing stuff on Instagram and on LinkedIn where I was and making myself more visible. And I didn't quite know where I was headed. I was still working in corporate, but I had this calling to coaching, and I reached out to my network, and there was this amazing dude named Rob Gilbert. He's a coach for coaches. He's ex-music industry, so I've known this guy
Okay.
for like 25 years since I was a teenager. In fact, his dad owned the Dickie D ice cream business that I
Okay.
referred to earlier.
Yeah,
So
very cool.
we go way back. But
Sure.
he made all these incredible leaps in his career. And I just reached out to him. I said, hey, man, I think you could help me. And we started a really solid coach and coachee relationship. He coached me through building some systems and approaches to attracting clients and getting clear on my message and what I was helping people with. And at first, it wasn't absolutely clear, but I had something, right?
Right.
And I was working on it. Then one day, I get contacted by an old colleague, an old somebody that I hadn't worked with in 10 years. He was a manufacturer's rep sales guy, okay,
Okay.
out of Atlanta, Georgia, that I'd worked with in the past. And he recently had taken over the business from his father-in-law. He's now the owner. And he reaches out to me and says, Chris, I'm following you online. He says, I think you could help me. And the light bulb went off. I'm like, oh my God. I get it. I know
Right.
exactly what I'm supposed to do. Like these are my people. These are
Right.
I understand their business. I know their challenges, and I know I can help in so many ways, not just in their habits, routines, as in their personal life, but I get the business. So and the systems and that the corporate world has taught me that I can help them apply in their day to day as business owners on the manufacturer's rep side. And when that happened, I went all in on that particular market. And um, my business grew to a point where I had to make a decision. And that decision was made for me. And here I am
Right.
today. So, yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I've been over a year and a half full time in this and scaling this business up. And, I do different things. I coach in a one-on-one capacity
Hmm.
on leadership vision and peak performance habits and routines. I also do group trainings for their sales team members when it comes to CRM,
Sure.
efficiency, mastery, as well as some other things, prioritization, time management. And then I'm building an army of coaches that are part of the Mindset Conquest Network now, where
Okay.
I'll have coaches that are going to extend our reach and our bandwidth that have amazing expertise in the industry from the corporate side that are also following their calling to
Sure.
becoming entrepreneurs in their own right, and that can really step into their servant leadership and help people. That's what we do. We help people level up their
Absolutely.
game, and it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So if people want to find you, we talked about your social media presence, and if people want to find you online, where's the best place for them to get in touch?
Best place to find me, you can find me on any platform at the Chris Atwell, at the Chris Atwell, and that's one T in Atwell, two L's. So TheChrisAtwell. And I'm building the whole YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn thing. So follow me anywhere.
You
Yeah.
bet. That's a constant work in progress for all of us, isn't it?
It,
It's
it
there, it's a
absolutely is.
necessity, but it's awesome the power, the impact that we can have. And sometimes people come across on social media and they take something away that we never knew we had that positive impact, but that's why we're here. That's why you're there and you're doing what you're doing. So, Chris, brother, I appreciate you so much. Is there anything else that we haven't covered that we need to cover before we wrap things up?
One last little tidbit on the social media piece.
Okay.
And we live in the social selling era.
Hmm.
Okay. So no matter what industry you're in, it doesn't matter. If you're not tapping into social media, other than scrolling and getting caught, going down rabbit holes and buying things that you don't need, all right, you should be using it to build your network because your network is
Absolutely.
your net worth. And social media is the new cold calling, right? You can go and bang on doors and send as many emails as you want, but if you make yourself present in a positive way where you're helping people on social media, that is the way things are now. So you need to participate. Lead the way.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Appreciate you. I appreciate the impact that you have and what you're doing. Appreciate your time today, and I look forward to you and I staying in touch and in the future.
Likewise, Dustin. I love what you're doing. Keep the amazing conversations going, and thanks for having me.
You bet, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is your impact story. We'll see you next time.